Well, good evening. We will begin our May 19th City Council meeting. It is 6 o'clock. Madam Secretary, do we have a quorum?
Yes, Mayor, we do.
All right, excellent. Well, what is the first thing on our agenda item this evening?
We will move to item 2, Invocation, which will be given by Mayor Greenberg, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance to the American and Texas flags.
Okay, I'll give the invocation. Dear Lord, we come to you tonight as a city, a very privileged city. It's wonderful to live here. We thank you for the blessing that we have. I pray that you'll guide our discussion up here behind the dais this evening, that you'll give each of us a spirit of grace and humility as we decide city policy that's going to affect the 30,000 in our care. I pray for those that are here to speak on an issue that they feel strongly about, that you'll give them wisdom and clarity and ease of mind as they approach this body to discuss that. Thank you for the city staff that work so diligently to keep this a wonderful city in which we live, and I pray that we can move our city forward, even if it's little by little, each and every day. In Christ's name we pray, amen. All right, the pledge. Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible. God bless Texas. All right, and before we move on to our next agenda item, we do have a special announcement. It is our own Secretary Vicky's birthday today, so if the council will join me.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Vicky. Happy birthday to you.
Thank you all. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Okay, what's our next item, please?
Okay, our next item will be Agenda Item 3A, Older Americans Month Proclamation.
All right, whereas May is recognized nationally as Older Americans Month, a time to honor the countless contributions of older adults, raise awareness of aging-related issues, and reaffirm our dedication to supporting older members of our communities, and whereas the growing population of older adults in Rockwall County enriches our community through their strength, wisdom, and diverse life experiences, and Rockwall County is committed to celebrating their contributions, promoting their engagement, and recognizing the unique opportunities for purpose, growth, and connection that come with aging. And whereas organizations such as Meals on Wheels, Senior Services of Rockwall County play a pivotal role in ensuring that older adults in our community are seen, heard, and supported, providing essential services and resources that promote independence, dignity, and active engagement in community life. And whereas the 2025 national theme for Older Americans Month, Flip the Script on Aging, encourages all of us to reimagine how we view aging and older adults and to embrace a more inclusive, respectful, and empowered perspective on growing older. Now, therefore, I, Andrew Greenberg, Mayor of the City of Fate, on behalf of the City Council, do hereby proclaim the month of May 2025 as Older Americans Month in the City of Fate, Texas, and encourage all residents to join in recognizing the contributions of our older citizens and to support programs, services, and activities that promote connection, inclusion, and well-being for older adults throughout our community.
Yes, Mayor, we have Margie Verhagen that is here to accept the proclamation.
Okay, yes, please come down.
I have my team with me too. You have a team?
Oh, yeah, let's bring the whole team. Absolutely.
And we'll just have y'all post over here. All right, can we bring it in just a little closer? Actually, hold on 1 second. All right. Might have to come in a little bit more. Or make a second row. Oh, actually, there we go. Perfect. 1, 2, 3. Good. Good.
Okay, next item, please.
Next is 3B, Royse City ISD Class of 2025 Senior Day Proclamation.
All right, whereas the Royse City ISD graduating class of 2025 reached a significant milestone through years of hard work, perseverance, and personal growth, demonstrating resilience in the face of challenges and a steadfast commitment to their goals, and whereas the Royse City ISD graduating class has not only excelled academically, but also contributed to their communities, led with compassion, and inspired those around them with their determination and spirit. And whereas the success of Royse City ISD students has been nurtured by the tireless dedication of teachers, counselors, administrators, and school staff, whose guidance, encouragement, and unwavering belief in their students made this achievement possible. And whereas Royse City ISD educators have gone above and beyond to create supportive, inclusive, and inspiring learning environments, serving as mentors, role models, and champions of student potential. And whereas the partnership between students and educators stand as a testament to the power of education to transform lives and build stronger communities. And whereas Royse City ISD 2025 graduating seniors will be honored and celebrated during a graduation ceremony on May 27th, 2025 at the Curtis Colwell Center, where families, friends, and the greater community will gather to honor the achievements of the class of 2025. Now, therefore, I, Andrew Greenberg, Mayor of Fate, on behalf of the City Council, do hereby proudly proclaim May 27th, 2025 as Royse City ISD Class of 2025 Senior Day in the city of Fate, Texas, and commend and honor each of the graduating seniors on the occasion of their graduation.
No, sir.
Next item.
Next will be 3C, Rockwall ISD Class of 2025 Senior Day Proclamation.
Okay, whereas the Rockwall ISD graduating class of 2025 reached a significant milestone through years of hard work, perseverance, and personal growth, demonstrating resilience in the face of challenges and a steadfast commitment to their goals, and whereas the Rockwall ISD graduating class has not only excelled academically, but also contributed to their communities, led with compassion, and inspired those around them with their determination and spirit. And whereas the success of Rockwall ISD students has been nurtured by the tireless dedication of teachers, counselors, administrators, and school staff, whose guidance, encouragement, and unwavering belief in their students made this achievement possible. And whereas Rockwall ISD educators have gone above and beyond to create supportive, inclusive, and inspiring learning environments, serving as mentors, role models, and champions of student potential. And whereas the partnership between students and educators stands as a testament to the power of education to transform lives and build stronger communities. And whereas Rockwall ISD 2025 graduating seniors will be honored and celebrated during a graduation ceremony on May 28th, 2025 at the Curtis Colwell Center, where families, friends, and the greater community will gather to honor the achievements of the class of 2025. Now, therefore, I, Andrew Greenberg, Mayor of the City of Fate, on behalf of the City Council, do hereby proudly proclaim May 28, 2025 as Rockwall ISD Class of 2025 Senior Day in the city of Fate, Texas, and commend and honor each of the graduating seniors on the occasion of their graduation. What's our next one?
Our next one is item D, Public Works Week Proclamation.
Okay, whereas public works professionals focus on infrastructure, facilities, and services that are of vital importance to sustainable and resilient communities and to the public health, high quality of life, and well-being of the citizens of Fate. And whereas these infrastructure, facilities, and services could not be provided without the dedicated efforts of public work professionals who are engineers, managers, and employees at all levels of government and the private sector. who are responsible for rebuilding, improving, and protecting our nation's transportation, water supply, water treatment, and solid waste systems, public buildings, and other structures and facilities essential for our citizens. And whereas the health, safety, and well-being of the City of Fate citizens greatly depends on these programs and services provided by the City of Fate Public Works Department, and whereas the efficiency of the qualified and dedicated personnel who staff public works departments is materially influenced by the people's attitude, and whereas the American Public Works Association has celebrated the annual National Public Works Week since 1960, now, therefore, I, Andrew Greenberg, Mayor of the City of Fate, on behalf of the City Council, do hereby proclaim the week of May 18th, 2025 through May 24th, 2025 as Public Works Week in the City of Fate, Texas, and encourage all citizens to acquaint themselves with the issues involved in providing our public works services and to recognize the contributions which public works officials make every day to our health, safety, comfort, and quality of life.
Yeah. Actually, the council, we're gonna keep you all up here. And you guys come around. Okay, it's Brad's birthday today too. All right. Okay. Can we? Can you guys like bunch in a little bit? Yeah, make a second row. Make like the second layer. I'm getting a couple photos here. Hold on. All right. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, cheese. Everybody smile.
Okay, what is our next agenda item?
Next agenda item is 3E, which is presentation of employee service awards. And the first award will be presented by Raju Anthony to Lottie Huffman for 10 years of service.
Mayor, we also have one more birthday, Mr. Michael Wright, today. Are we going to sing?
Why not? Absolutely, we should.
All right, who else's birthday was back there? Brad? Who else? All right, you ready?
How about that? So Michael and Brad?
Yeah. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, Michael and Brad and Raju. Happy birthday to you. Raju's birthday was last week, right?
Next to me,
When was your birthday? Last week?
yesterday.
Yesterday.
Oh, okay.
Okay. What can I say about Lottie? She's one of my, one of the 3 managers. She's one of the best. And Lottie started about 10 years ago. She started as a deputy court clerk, then promoted to court clerk. Now she's the court administrator. She completed her level 1 and level 2 part-time night school, and she is completing her level 3 now. And she is very accountable, very talented, and she requires 0 supervision. This is one thing I don't understand. She's always happy and bubbly. Every day, every single day. So I'm glad I'm part of Lottie's team. Come on over.
Omar, if we can do one with the council too. One with the council as well.
All right, I got you. Cool. Awesome. We got everybody in there. 1, 2, 3, cheese. There you go. Cool.
Okay, what's our next item?
Okay, we still have one more Employee Service Award for Daniel Engel. I don't believe Mr. Engel is here, but Chief Lombard is going to say a few words about Daniel Engel and his 5 years of service.
Okay, perfect.
We'll save a little bit of walking and picture taking on this one. But Daniel Engel is a gentleman that has done great in our department. He's been with us 5 years. We promoted him once to a lieutenant. He's a supervisor over one of our night shifts. He couldn't be here this evening because he's doing probably a harder job at the moment with childcare. And so we really appreciate his years of service with us. And as y'all see, the times that we come up the podium and do some of these presentations, the depth that we're gaining in our young organization is very exciting. And we get to see more longevity and some of these young guys starting to promote up. And so it's very exciting to see guys like Daniel Engel with the time and service that we have with them. So we appreciate him and appreciate y'all recognizing him.
Absolutely. Yeah, Chief, next time you speak to him, let him know that we up here at the council are appreciative of him, very much so. All right, what's our next item?
Next will be Agenda Item 3F, recognize Lee Goddard for obtaining a Class B water distribution license.
All right. Good evening, Mayor, Council. Big night for Public Works here. So just want to recognize Lee for acquiring his B license, water distribution license. Lee's been with us just over a year now. Huge part of the department's success. Just a pleasure to work for, and his dedication to the city. I don't even know where to start, but all hours of the night, weekends, anytime we ever have a concern or need, Lee's on top of it. And you can see recognition with the department showing up tonight. He's doing an excellent job. Appreciate working with him, love having him. So congratulations. Oh, excellent.
All right. And 1, 2, 3, cheese. There we go.
All right, what's our next item on the agenda, please?
Next is 3G, recognize John Eller and Gustavo Gomez for achieving Class C water distribution license.
So a big push in the Public Works Department is getting our staff licensed. A lot of new faces to the market, to the industry. Both these guys have been with us for a couple of years. They've already acquired their C water license. Gus was recently promoted to a lead over our water department, so he's overseeing our crews in the field. Big thanks for these guys. Just excellent communication, customer service, everything you would ask for. Again, dedication. I mean, I've got guys standing in line to take on call and service and really provide the customer service and support we need for the city, and love working with them both. So a nice night to recognize them and their achievements. So very proud of both of them. So. Amy looked taller. And Jack got his braces off also, so we're excited about that.
All right, and then, so we're gonna get a little close on this one. Let's see. There you go. Yep.
So who on the council wants to say what it takes to get a Class B or Class C license real quick? Anybody up here know that?
No idea.
I don't. Well done, gentlemen. What's our next item, please?
Our next item is Agenda Item 4, Public Comment. And I've received a few requests to address the council, the first being from Shane Hollis, address 4500 Interstate 30, and he is speaking on Agenda Item 6A.
Hello, hello. Shane Hollis, 4500 I-30. So I know I'm very limited on time, so I have prepared notes, and unfortunately I'm going to have to read them or I'm going to go over my allotment. So I'm here to speak about 6A. Welcome, good to see you guys again. So businesses can't take the burden all the time. The inflationary pressures affect everyone, especially businesses. Businesses pay property tax, but businesses also pay taxes on the equipment and other items within the business, and as well, we're also hit with many other taxes and many other fees that a normal person doesn't understand if they don't run a business and really can't appreciate all that we are hit with from a financial standpoint. I know many businesses that are struggling to stay in business, and some of those are right here in Fate. It's not, business owners just don't sit back and count cash like a lot of people think. We struggle every day to maintain our businesses and maintain our employees. I think Fate claims to be a business-friendly place, and that's why I put my business here and why I'm here. But actions like this will make it harder for businesses. And I think we need to focus more on increasing sales tax by adding more businesses to our community and making the existing businesses able to be more successful. I was on the long-term planning committee, so I know more than probably the normal person, and I know that anyone, I would say everyone in the know knows that that Fate cannot survive long-term on just property tax revenue. We must have a very healthy sales tax revenue base to be successful. From a business, payroll is my number one expense. Every dollar spent somewhere else is less than I can hire or train to provide a job for a Fate citizen or help grow my business to provide more sales tax revenue for the city. I've stood up here many times. For many of y'all that know me, I've been up here many, many times. This is the first time that I've ever stood up in opposition to something. I'm a big believer in Fate. I'm a big believer in Fate. I'm a believer in the leadership, and I'm a believer in what we can accomplish. And I just feel this one is not the way. I feel there is a way. I feel this one is not the way. I'd love the opportunity when 6A comes up. I don't know if I'll have that, but I'd love the opportunity to discuss more and provide some more insight if that would help you guys. Thank you.
Okay, next will be Scott A. Smith, address 408 West Apple Tree Lane, wishes to speak on an item not on the agenda, which is Lafayette Crossing and Project Cactus.
Hi, my name is Scott Smith. I live at 408 West Apple Tree Lane in Fate. Some people do know, some people don't. I live next door to the U-Tract. My house this side and behind me is U-Tract, so Lafayette Crossing and Cactus Project would be right there in my backyard. So what I'm here to speak against, though, is Lafayette Crossing and Cactus Project being allowed to connect to the infrastructure of the adjacent residential neighborhood. This would include Black Oak Lane, CB Davidson, E.R. Ellis Avenue, Apple Tree Lane, James Glenn Avenue, and Cherry Tree Lane. This residential neighborhood has very narrow streets, no sidewalks, bar ditches instead of underground drainage. I'm not complaining about the infrastructure. It was that way when I bought the house in 2015. I'm just stating the facts. Because of the lack of proper infrastructure in this neighborhood, it would really constitute a threat to public safety in the neighborhood if Lafayette Landing and Cactus Project were allowed to connect to our streets. There's children playing in these streets, probably right now as we're sitting here talking, playing basketball. People walking their dogs. There's barely enough room for 2 cars to drive down these streets at the same time. It would definitely create a dangerous situation in our neighborhood from the inevitable pass-through traffic coming out of Lafayette Crossing and Cactus Project, with people trying to avoid the backed up traffic on 551 in Crawford. And before anyone starts talking about need for emergency vehicles needing access, they're already going to build an entrance to the development off 551. There's going to be multiple entrances off of I-30 Service Road, and there's going to be the entrance off the development for the Wood Creek Boulevard extension. So that's a non-issue. There's plenty of places for emergency vehicles to get in without coming through a residential neighborhood. You simply can't profess to be a supporter of public safety and allow huge amounts of pass-through traffic into a our neighborhood should be totally walled off from Lafayette Crossing and the Cactus Project, and the cost of this should be responsibility of the developer. The only other alternative to this, to walling the neighborhood off, would be for the developers would be to upgrade the infrastructure in our neighborhood with wider streets, sidewalks, underground drainage. I estimate that's probably going to cost about $25 million, and nobody wants to pay that bill. So I call on the City Council to address this issue immediately and prevent the Lafayette Crossing Development and Cactus Project from connecting to the neighborhood by whatever legal means necessary. Appreciate your time.
Next, we have Lauren Megacy, address 111 Mustang Drive, wishes to speak on agenda item 6A, 6D, and then also on items not on the agenda regarding carry the load.
Good afternoon, evening, council. I want to speak on item 6A. 6A is a way of taxing the businesses in this community, something that we cannot afford to do. It took us a long time to start bringing in businesses. I remember when Shane brought his business in. I was sitting as mayor. It took us a while to get businesses in here. We're starting to get some businesses coming in here, and we start taxing these businesses, and you look at what the rate is, it's going to be a 36% increase on those businesses. They can't afford that. You got a lot of these mom and pop grocery store offices downtown area there. They can't afford a 36% increase. We got to make sure that we're business friendly, bringing in businesses, not driving businesses away. So on that tax rate there, this goes into my second topic of item 6D. So there was a bond issued for $20 million. Looking at the agenda that you guys got on there, there's a $2 million that the city says we can save by, instead of going 2 stories, going 1 story, but they want to use that for spending on buying some more property. Take that $2 million, pay off that bond, put $2 million back into it, not increasing the taxes on the people. This council, you are going to be the ones on the hook for this budget coming up. And you don't want to be known as the council that brought in the largest tax increase on the citizens in the city of Fate history. Make sure that you guys look at how you can reduce that burden that's going to be coming, because you got 4.5, 5 cents coming up just on that bond. You can take $2 million, they'll take 3/4 to 1 cent off. Look at how you can do that. And then my third topic, this weekend here, every year comes through Fate is to carry the load. Comes in about 11:30 at night. We start walking at midnight, and we go all the way down to the courthouse. I want to invite everybody to come out to that. It's something that we've been doing since 2014. It's something that the city really puts out there. We get a lot of people coming out, a lot of people walking. We got people coming all over from Heath, from Royse City. They'll come and they'll walk. So I'm inviting you guys, all come walk with us. It's a great opportunity to share and show your support for the military, and for carrying that load is a great opportunity. With that, I'll be done.
Next, we have Alan Robbins, 309 Amos Court, wishes to speak on agenda item 6A.
Alan Robbins, 309 Amos Court. I'd like to, first of all, can we turn the microphones off before you guys sing, please? Sorry. Tax policy, future-minded, not just about today, but the next decade. Every single exemption and limit placed on a group of taxpayers is a tax increase on the rest not qualified for that exemption or limit. I just hope that we can all acknowledge that to the public, that this is a tax increase without additional services provided. Politically, it may look good, but what's the long-term effect as more people move into the exemption limit classes? We passed a $3 a month road maintenance fee a couple of years ago, done to make room in our M&O tax rate to add 4 firemen to our undersized staff as part of our recession plan. The fee was sunset at the next budget. Fees are a tax increase, but we acknowledge this, and it was to add additional services for the citizens of Fayette. The tax increases from exemptions and limits do not add a single service, but rather require others to pay for the same services that others already receive. I am not going to tell you how to vote. I voted 2 weeks ago on this, but I do require that all 7 members of council publicly acknowledge this is a tax increase on some and not all. I also ask you consider the long-term impact, which, as other cities will tell you, is in the millions of dollars over time. Conservative tax policy asks for a reasonable tax rate in exchange for efficient services and not on the backs of others. Please consider all of these points as you deliberate. Thank you.
Next will be Milford Randy Long, address 2263 Bryant Lane, wishes to speak on an item not on the agenda. Congratulations.
Good evening. I guess I should be talking about taxes tonight, but I'm not. And I just wanted to mention before I start that being an older American, I sincerely appreciate the proclamation tonight, but I think a small cash incentive would have been appreciated a lot more. First and foremost, I want to talk about the recently completed election. I want to say congratulations to the new mayor and the 2 new council members. I want to commend you on your campaigns. Taking the high road and ignoring the immature, unprofessional, and nonsensical rhetoric online takes a lot of willpower. It is human nature to want to defend when attacked and untruths, slander, etc. come up. You chose to stick to the issues and your core values reflecting character and class. To engage with keyboard warriors is a waste of time and intellect and a no-win proposition. You have hopefully set the bar very high for future elections, and I want to thank you for the campaigns that you ran.
And last, I have Judy Mariscola, who lives at 312 West Black Oak Lane. She did not want to speak. However, she did ask for her opposition against agenda item 6A, and she says against the reduction of the exemption to be on record. So that is on record. And that's all I have.
Okay, thank you. So what is our next item on the agenda, please?
Next would be agenda item 5, consent agenda.
Okay, and so on the consent agenda, the consider the approval of minutes and then the 6th Amendment to the 380 Economic Incentive Agreement. And again, just as a clarifying question, that is for Sauce and Vine, the extension to what date? July
1st.
July 1st, okay. Do I have a motion?
I make a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented. I second.
Okay. Any discussion? Well, I guess no discussion necessary for the consent agenda, so please vote. All right, motion passes 7-0. Thank you. What's our next item, please?
6A, discuss, consider, and take any necessary action regarding ordinance number O-2025-018, establishing an exemption from the ad valorem taxation on the residential homestead of individuals in the amount not to exceed 20% of residential homestead appraised value, not to be less than $5,000, and repealing or modifying the exemption from the ad valorem taxation on the residential homestead of individuals 65 years of age or older.
Okay.
I can introduce it if you like. So the council gave us the direction to produce or prepare the ordinance for consideration tonight. I think we did give you some bad information in the heat of the action last time. The couple things, the disabled is also included. The disabled folks are also included in the tax freeze, or I'm sorry, I saw freeze, ceiling, the tax ceiling. So they are included. And also the senior exemption, you can get rid of it, but if you keep it, it has to be 3,000. So we told you had to keep it, and it had to be 3,000. So I think you can we did some research on it. You can eliminate it completely. But if we keep it, it must be 3,000 or higher. So those two things. Also, I know in our materials we listed, it may have looked like Councilmember Chin was supporting the exemption elimination. I know the way we worded it, but what we got, that was of course a lot of moving parts, and the actual orders that we got was from the entire council to prepare the ordinance. So just wanted to clarify that. But with all those pieces aside, we did put together an ordinance. Jennifer put it together for us. It does institute the 20% homestead exemption for the general public, and it does eliminate completely the senior exemption. So that is before you tonight. We've got a number of, there's all sorts of numbers. I know we've had some numbers that we did back in, oh gosh, we probably talked about this for about over a year, probably a year and a half, something like that. So we've had different numbers the whole time. The latest ones we had in January, we sent some information out about that. Then we had some that we talked about in April, which were a little bit closer. We've got the preliminary tax roll, which is not the final tax roll, but it's getting close. In the third week of June, we're going to get the final tax roll, and that will be the tax roll that we have to use, minus some protests still being out there. There's going to be a handful of protests still out there. But we think we've got pretty decent numbers. And so we put that in your staff summary. That's all been online as well for the public to see, what the de minimis rate, if we use the de minimis, includes the bond and so forth. So altogether, we anticipate going from 29.9 to about 35.1. Of course, there is a number of things that we could do with this, and we wanted to put this together for you and let you consider it.
Okay, thank you. I'll go ahead and start and talk on this a little bit, because it is me that keeps bringing it up, and it is a conversation that the last council had several times, and lots of back and forth on it, lots of thoughts, and I think the easiest thing to talk about is what this is and what this is not, because there's been a lot of talk about it. I've had lots of questions on it as far as what the impact of this is, what it means, what we can and can't do, all that good stuff. So first and foremost, I do want to recognize the fact that this is 100% a shift in tax burden from, if implemented. A general homestead exemption is 100% a shift in some tax burden from homesteaded homeowners to businesses and non-homestead properties. It's 100% the case, and it will impact all non-homestead properties adversely. I don't take decisions like that lightly. We need to create an environment that is attractive to businesses, and lower tax rates are attractive to businesses. So I don't discount that as I bring this forward. However, there are some things that we face as a city that are unique and that surrounding communities don't face. First off, at build out, our community will have approximately 10,000. As it stands today, we have 10,000 entitled homes in our community. That is with no new plans currently in the works for any new communities that have been approved. 80%, almost 80%, 78.5% of those homes exist in a special assessment district. So in addition to our current 26-cent tax rate, 80% of our homes are paying special assessments due to MUDs and PIDs that are the effect of decisions made long ago, either outside of the control of city council or by previous councils to either salvage neighborhoods or to resolve lawsuits. So as it relates to our citizens, our citizens aren't necessarily benefiting from the lower tax rate that we offer in the marketplace, and that does need to be acknowledged. One of the things that is driving up the impact of this homestead exemption initially is our, what I will call a poor mix of commercial to residential property. Right now, 92% of our tax base is residential, as opposed to 8% of that being commercial. As our commercial base increases, the impact of the tax rate will 100% decrease, and eventually down the line, ideally, it'll have no impact on what that tax rate looks like. Today, currently, we have the 7th lowest tax rate in North Texas. That is obviously something to pat ourselves on the back about to some degree. However, that being said, a couple other communities in our county have lower tax rates. But along our competition area, our I-30 corridor and our 190 corridor and even the US 80 corridor, we still compare very favorably. If this were implemented, we would compare very, very favorably to any city we would be in competition with. Just some quick numbers on our inventories. We have currently 8,100 as of 2024. 2025 will change. 2024 tax rolls, we had 8,100 personal residences on our tax rolls. 5,500 of those residences had a homestead exemption. Of those 5,500, 20% have an over 65 exemption in place. So we have about 2,600 residences that for some reason do not have a homestead exemption in place. They could be rentals, they could be individuals that do not know they need to file for a homestead exemption. There's a lot of homeowners, young homeowners especially, that just don't know the best things to do. So if you look at our city rolls as far as number of rental properties, I believe the number's about 1,000. If you talk to the HOAs, those numbers are gonna be a little bit higher, but at least on the city rolls, the number's right around 1,000 of registered rental homes. That leaves another 1,500 homes that we just don't know about. As it relates to the impact on the tax rate, again, being fully conscious of that. First off, our tax rate's gonna increase this year, no matter what we do. Because of the DPS bond, that is about a 4-cent obligation to the tax rate that goes into our debt service, and so our rate will increase no matter what we do. The assumption right now with the de minimis rate in place and the new rate is about a 25% increase in our tax rate. So that's gonna happen no matter what we do, assuming we go with the de minimis rate, which again is putting a tax increase on our citizens in place. But I also want to talk about what has happened when we have taken on new debt over the last several years. We took on almost $20 million, about $18 million of debt in 2020 and 2021 as it related to the road bond and the park bond. It was $18 million worth of debt we took on. That increased the tax rate at that time about 5 cents. But over the next 4 years after that time, we were able to decrease the tax rate because of property value growth, because of inventory growth in our tax base. The council has been able to decrease that rate from 33 cents down to its existing 26 cents. A lot of that's driven by property growth and property values, but it also needs to be noted in dropping that tax rate. Every year we did that, the city council made a conscious decision to increase taxes also. So while we were dropping the tax rate, the taxes that our citizens were paying have increased every year. That's just a reality in the way we have operated with the de minimis rate over the last 4 years especially. I'm sure if I went back further, it would be longer than that. But I say that knowing that as a growing community, we have needs to grow our internal infrastructure. A lot of those tax increases that have been done over the last 4 years has been to fund the growth of our DPS department, to where we have added, I believe, 11 officers, 12 officers minimum over the last 4 years, maybe even a little bit higher than that. But a lot of the tax increase that we have done over the last 4 years has been to increase our DPS. We need to continue to focus on that. It has also allowed us to increase our road maintenance tax by more than 100%. Or not road maintenance tax, but our road maintenance fund from 100,000 to a proposed 2 million this year, I believe, Michael. So we have needs and we have the need to make investments, but it also needs to be noted, while we have been increasing taxes, our general overhead count per capita has actually decreased over that same time frame. So we've gone from about four employees per 100 to about 3.5 employees per 100 from the last count that I have. So we have, while decreasing tax rate, been able to increase taxes in order to support our growing needs. What this does is provides benefit to the 80% of homeowners that are residing in those special assessment districts, and it provides benefits to the 20% who reside outside of that. We've got one option to provide any level of tax relief. We've got multiple options to provide tax relief. We can actually lower taxes. That's hard to do in a growing city, but we have the option to actually go in and say, you know what, we're not going to charge the de minimis rate. We're going to go with no new revenue rate. We can go with a lower rate than that if we choose to. I'm not arguing for that as a policy perspective. We have too many needs we've got to do, and we've got too much going on over the next few years. Our other option, our only other option is to look at a homestead exemption like this. We can talk about whether it's the right time or not. We can talk about the impact on businesses, and all that is fair. But I want to talk in the reality of that it's been the policy of the council to support tax increases over the last 4 years, even though it has supported a lower tax rate. We are going to raise taxes this year because of the DPS bond, if for no other reason because of the DPS bond, and that has to be acknowledged. So if we implement the homestead exemption, it's not going to, the effect will be a 34% increase in the effective tax rate, but we're already increasing, with the de minimis rate, we're already increasing the tax rate 25%. So this is an effective 16% over the proposed rate. As our commercial base grows, the benefits that our homeowners will receive will increase. I think the estimated number was $75 to $80 this year. But last year we looked at a number of a 3-cent impact, and that 3% impact to the tax rate provides about a 10% savings to homeowners. As the impact decreases, the impact to homeowners increases. All that being said, the other piece to it that we've got on the agenda is the over 65 exemption. As it relates to, I'm sorry, I'm going long-winded. You need to put me on a 3-minute timer next time like everybody else has. As it relates to the over 65, I want to be fully aware of what we're doing with that part of our citizenry, because first off, Mark and Patty Hatley fought very hard to gather enough signatures a couple of years ago to put a tax limit increase. That is absolutely a benefit that our existing seniors have, and no action that we will take from this will ever increase the amount of dollars that our seniors will pay today. That limit can be decreased through actions that we take, but it will not be increased. So our seniors will experience zero adverse impact from anything we do with this, from what they're currently getting. As it relates to the property values, any property value $250,000 or over with a 20% exemption in place will receive that $50,000 or higher that the seniors currently get. So some seniors could actually see an increased benefit from just the 20% exemption alone. So I want to be very conscious about what we're doing with that. I want to be very open with our senior community as far as it's really not an adverse impact, even though there was a lot of noise and consternation about what was previously done with the exemptions, that this would be a benefit for most of our seniors. That being said, I don't know if I would be fully on board with eliminating a level of senior exemption. I would probably be very, very comfortable lowering it a degree, maybe down to $15,000 or $20,000 to provide a little bit of benefit, but I'm not entirely comfortable with it going away. That's, again, a lot of information that I'm just kind of spewing off random notes that I've made. But really, at the end of the day, it comes down to the adverse impact on our businesses and what that means. For most businesses, the impact is relatively small, but it does impact fairly significantly our large property owners that have higher property tax values. The example I would use is the Pros Apartments and the Jameson Apartments. Both have 5-figure impacts to that. And as we get new businesses in, there would be, for those large property owners, there would be definitely impact from this as well in terms of driving that up. But as it relates to our tax rate, if this were implemented, if our tax rate moved from the 26 cents that we're at now to the 35 cents, if that does end up being the number, we don't know what the number is going to be, but if that does end up being the number, we would essentially move from the 7th lowest tax rate in the market in North Texas to the 15th lowest tax rate in North Texas. So still extremely competitive and still significantly lower than most of the cities that we would be competing against on the I-30, US 80 and 190 corridors. So with that, I'll shut up and let everybody else kind of live their thoughts. I mean, at the end of the day, it really, if we do something great, it's something I'm going to continue to push for. I think it's the right thing to do for our citizens. It's something I'm going to continue to push for in order to provide some long-term tax relief to our homesteaded homeowners. But I definitely do not want to discount the impact or the values that it has on our business community.
Okay, thank you. What are other thoughts from council or questions to Scott or to our city manager? Somebody's got to have some questions.
I don't have a question,
or
but
comments and thoughts.
I want to add to what Scott had to say. I mean, he did absolutely cover all of it. So, however, I just, the senior tax exemption or the ceiling cannot be removed ever. It's in there, it cannot ever be removed. The $50,000 tax exemption that's there now, or the homestead exemption, is almost like a coupon. The first time you use it, it sets your tax rate, it sets the ceiling of your tax rate. Yes, that ceiling can go down, but the likelihood of that happening is small because the property values are continuing to climb, which makes that $50,000 not drive your tax ceiling down any farther than it already is. So by adding the 20%, that could take that tax rate down farther, but just the 50,000 will typically not ever give those who are already 65 any more tax savings.
Okay. I appreciate Michael and his comments. I had called him earlier today and I was like, hey, I've had some questions about the fact that on the agenda tonight it states that I made a request to decrease the over 65 senior property exemption from 50,000 to 3,000. And for the record, I did not. I actually voted against that last week along with Mark Hatley. So I wanted to make sure that that was on the record. But the main thing that I want seniors to know is that if this year you paid in and you qualified for the 50K exemption, that is a ceiling that's not going away. You get to keep that. Even if we were to cancel out everything tonight and pass this as it's written, y'all's taxes would not go up. The amount would not go up. Not the rate, the amount that you pay does not increase. It stays the same or it goes lower. However, I just want to say I am not in favor of removing the over 65 exemption. And before I got here, I had Michael drop some numbers to give some different scenarios for if we were to change that and maybe not do 50,000. Although, if you're already 65, you're locked into that. You're not affected. But for the future, say you're 64 right now, and you were looking forward to this 50K exemption. I had Michael run some numbers, and one of the numbers that I had him run was a $25,000 exemption, in addition to the 20% exemption for all homesteaders, right? And the difference was, it was from 0.351, and it would go up to 0.3539 if we were to do a 25K exemption for the 65 over crowd. That is something that I feel strongly about. I do feel that when you're on a fixed income, it's harder to pay your property taxes. I recognize that people that are younger, they're able to go out and get a raise, get a better job, whereas if you're on Social Security, you don't have that possibility. So I do feel like it's fair to give them a bigger discount than somebody who is not 65. To one of Scott's points that he made, he said that we're the 7th lowest tax rate right now, and that benefits the businesses here, but it doesn't benefit any of the homesteaders that are paying mud taxes and that are paying PIDs. And if you ask anybody who is subject to paying a mud or a PID, number one, they don't understand. Number two, they think that we're getting that money, and we're not. We don't see a dime from the muds and the PIDs. And so that's not going towards DPS. That's not going towards potholes. That is going to some developer and some attorneys. And so I understand that this is an increase for our businesses. It's also an increase for anybody who purchases a whole bunch of apartments, which I like because I don't like apartments. So, but I do not like the fact that we are raising and increasing taxes on businesses. But I would say that when you look at the competitive level that we have versus the people in the area, we are still really low. I think you said we would be 15th. And that means that we're still lower than Royse City. We're still lower than Greenville. I'm sure there's a lot of others, Garland, Mesquite. We would not be lower than Rockwall with this increase. But again, when you looked at it on the printout that was posted to the website, it makes it look like it's a 36% increase, but that's not the full story. The full story is, like they have said, we're not talking about a 26 cents. We're talking about 29.99, and the difference between that and what we would be going to. Because if we don't do a thing, we keep the senior exemption right where it is. We still have the police bond, and that's raising our tax rate. So we're not talking about a 26-cent tax rate. We're talking about a 29.99. Did I say that wrong? 0.2999, sorry. So there's a lot to weigh. I don't think that this is something that should be rushed because it is a big deal, and it carries a lot of weight with this decision. But I do want everyone to understand that if you are a senior, your tax rate can only go down. It is locked in at that ceiling. We can't remove that. We can't charge you more, not by $1 next year. So hopefully that makes sense. I think that's all that I have to add for right now anyway.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else on the, Mark Hatley, were you?
Oh, yeah, I was in the queue.
Okay, and then Rick, are you going to want to speak? Sure. Okay.
Okay, I'll start. There was a lot of information online that was given out that was, I thought, incomplete. I got a lot of phone calls from people going, I'm getting a 20% homestead exemption. My taxes are going down by 20%. And as a factual thing, I told them, no, your taxes are going, the rate is going up. The 20% is going to help pay down that. So you will get the change, the extra that comes out of that. That should have been stated, I think, a little bit more with the information that went out, that the tax rate is going to go up first, and then you're going to get the 20% homestead exemption. So you're not getting 20% of your taxes cut. That's That was a myth. Just because all the information wasn't out. On the over 65, $50,000, basically I don't understand why everybody keeps wanting to go after this year over year after year. I mean, they took it down to 25, we got it back up to 50, and they keep wanting to go after that. The whole idea is seniors need to know what they're going to pay for taxes every year. They really should. I understand that their taxes will not go up with the 20%. Unless you're in a house under, that's worth under $250,000. However, and the reason that they want to remove it, they state, is it's a growing demographic, is the over 65. But we also have a growing demographic of disabled and disabled veterans. They're actually growing a little faster. I wouldn't want to touch their money either. They cannot afford to, they're on fixed incomes. There are a few of them that may be able to work. It's not the majority. And the same way with, people think of over 65 as people at 65 or 66 years old. They're not 55 or 66. A lot of these people are in their 70s or 80s. Their working days are over. They can't go out and go get jobs. So they're on fixed incomes. That money was put there for a reason. So the logic is disabled people can double dip, but over 65s shouldn't. So I don't even know why that was even put in there to begin with, but be that as it may. Next point. Businesses, when they're taxed, transfer those costs to consumers. They have to stay in business. It's not that they just reach in their pockets out of their profits and on. They have employees to pay. They have taxes, other taxes to pay, and inflation. So they pass those on to consumers. So I see a number here on that a homestead owner, on an average, might save $67 a year. If we shop in fate, as I hope we all do, as much as we possibly can, we'll eat up with the increased costs that small businesses will have to raise. We're going to eat that up in 2 seconds. We're going to be paying for our own homestead exemptions, probably a couple of times over. We're trying to draw businesses into fate. I think this is a bad time to do this. We've got 2 box stores coming in that hopefully will draw in a lot of smaller businesses, and hopefully that'll attract them. I just don't think raising the rate on this is going to help Matt do that at all. And we brought in Matt to help bring in businesses, to attract businesses. I think this would be a deterrent, especially if somebody's looking at going, you know what, I want to start a small business. I'm going to take out a small business loan. That's a big risk in life. It really is. I've done it in my youth. To actually go buy an awful lot of equipment on work that you may or may not have. I mean, you're literally betting, and they do it here, they're betting on this city. All on this, I just don't think there's enough bang for the buck, even if you were on the side of this, to go do it. And I don't know, I just don't see, I guess, the logic. I'm all for a homestead exemption if we could figure out a way to do it with spending cuts, some tax savings, some savings here and there. But I just don't see how we can do it. Now, in regards to the DPS bond, that's going to raise it up even more, absorb that. I just don't think at this time, and I really think we need to do everything we can to draw on as many businesses to get as much sales tax revenue that we're already spending to spend locally here, as opposed to taking it out to Rockwall, Mesquite, Greenville, God bless them, Caddo Mills. So I just think this is kind of a bad timing and not a good look for the city when it comes to being business friendly. I have heard over and over many citizens who've been here a long time, as fate has had a history of being thought of as not being very business friendly. And I just think if we pass this, it would be a message that would be true. And I just don't think I don't think we want to do that. So thank you.
All right. something was said about older people, 65 and over, can't just go out and find some other way to make more money. And I was going to point out, as I think I'm the oldest member on the council, I'll be 65 later this year, and I was hoping maybe to find a little job this year to make a little more money, and I got this. So anyway, so this could happen. This could happen to any of you. So I had put together just a simple illustration on the impact of this on just, because this seems like it's only going to hit the residents under 65, because everybody 65 and over is sort of capped. So I just did a simple workup with 400,000, and I only have it for myself. I didn't want to make copies and distribute it around. But at 400,000, at the current tax rate, a resident under 65 would pay $1,037. If we implemented the general homestead exemption of 20%, the taxable value would go from 400 to 320, and they would, at the current tax rate, would pay 830, and that looks like a 20% tax decrease. But then on the, to make that up, there's going to be an increase in the overall tax rate that'll go to everybody. So the actual rate, and I wanted to exclude the DPS because that's already been pre-approved. Everyone knew that was coming. People voted for it by 68%. So the tax rate to cover the homestead becomes 0.311. So someone would have gone from last year's taxes of $1,037 to next year's taxes, or if everything stayed equal, $996 would be a $41 tax increase is what I figured. And I worked this up, and I think I got it. It was pretty simple to figure. And I just think that's too small of like we said, the bang for the buck. I figured the impact to one of our favorite commercial enterprises, Fresh, would be thousands of dollars. I figured over 8,000. Looking at both their real estate and their business personal property, their taxes would go up by over $8,000. And I figured if we're trying to attract 2 anchor tenants to Lafayette Crossing or Project Cactus, those stores are going to be 100,000 approximately, which is about 67% bigger than Fresh. So they're looking at maybe, if they're just thinking about coming here, it's like they've been suddenly told to figure in over $14,000 more in property taxes. And I realize these are big businesses, but they're also the kind of businesses, these like Fresh and the anchor stores, all they have to do, they've got thousands of products in the store. They have to raise prices, a penny here, 2 pennies there, and before you know it, we've more than paid the $41 that we saved on our taxes. So that's my comment.
Thank you, Rick. Martha?
My turn. This is a very complex subject to study, and I've tried really hard to absorb information and have it make sense, and boil it down to some simple equation, and there just really isn't one. I certainly don't like the idea. It sounds good to have an opportunity to lower the tax burden on the residences, but it sounds not great to raise the taxes for the businesses, which again, we are trying to attract more business. And when I look at these, I always have to remember those MUDs and PIDs, because the numbers don't look that big when you're just looking at the city tax. But I wish there was something we could could we focus on getting rid of the MUDs and PIDs? Is there something we can do as a council to work on that?
Well, there is a way to get rid of the MUDs, but unfortunately, the Wood Creek Development Agreement says is that we can't close the MUDs until the debt's paid off, so there's not really.
And do we know what the debt is?
And they keep adding new debt every year. They haven't stopped adding the debt to the MUDs in Wood Creek, I can tell you, because that's where I live. They continue every year to add more debt. It's never going away. In theory, it could. It's not.
And then another piece that I have to remember is I believe we're being asked to factor in an additional $1.3 million in the budget. Oh, sorry. And if, I believe we're being asked to try and provide for 1.3 million more in our budget for this year for city costs. So we're lowering taxes, decreasing that revenue, but somewhere we're going to have to try and find more money. So I could use more time to study this before I were to vote on it, but that's just me. It was helpful hearing what you guys said tonight.
Actually, it's revenue, this proposal's revenue neutral, but it just kind of shifts it around.
Okay, so Matt, as your name was mentioned, you know, kind of like in the rules of debate, if your name's mentioned, you get to speak. I would be curious, when in your analysis of this, would this be a deterrent to business? What are your thoughts on that?
Sure. There's no doubt about it. I mean, I'm your economic development director, so I'm going to be advocating on behalf of small businesses, large businesses, every business in between, every commercial real estate piece of property in the city of Fate. So, I mean, with that, obviously, yes, the lower the taxes, the better. If this is passed tonight, am I kicking you all to the curb and leaving? The answer is no.
I hope not.
So the list of, you know, lowest tax rates is the city rate, and Scott, you mentioned that, will fall to number 15. I hate being below Rockwall on that list and below Heath on that list. We'll still be competitive with a lot of the other markets, as is pointed out. I just simply want to say that taxes are going to go up. We know that because of the DPS bond, and so the taxes will go up on everybody. I just want everybody to understand and keep in mind that small businesses have their real estate, but they also have their business personal property. That's their inventory, that's their fixtures, that's their equipment, their servers, their computers, their desks. Everything has value associated with it. They pay taxes on that. So that's why it can have a bit of an outsized effect. Whereas sales tax is generated by those who are spending money in that business. And as Mr. Hatley pointed out, if you're currently going to Royse City and spending that money, spending that in Fate, costs you the same amount of money, but then the city benefits from that sales tax collection. So I have to do the nerdy thing here, Mayor, and quote one of my favorite free market economists, Milton Friedman, who said, if you want more of something, subsidize it, and if you want less of something, tax it. And so while the increase might be 20% to the small businesses, they already have a 15% increase associated with the de minimis rate and the DPS bond. Adding this in pushes that up to 35%. So any increase is going to be discouraging new businesses, business expansion. It'd be encouraging single-family homesteaded properties. So does that answer your question?
That's great. Thank you. And Milton Friedman, he's a good one. Okay, so I will say, and maybe this is just clarification for me, because I want to be very sure, based on the discussion that I've heard from all of us, or from you guys, the impact on seniors, 65 and older, I don't think anybody should be able to look at this and say, excuse me, that seniors are going to be hit in any kind of negative way. That's, if we've established that, then we know that potentially, and I think you had mentioned, somebody had mentioned 40% of our community is rental properties. So it definitely would impact renters and in a negative way, and it would benefit a positive impact to homeowners. It's the potential adverse impact on business that I struggle with the most here, because of course I love the idea too of getting a easing the residents' tax liability. My concern is to the 92% residential and 8% commercial. I look at it as if we know we're at 8% commercial right now, and maybe it's just an open question for anybody who would want to answer, city manager as well, Mr. Kovacs. If waiting until that commercial base is larger than 8, so that any kind of tax increase on businesses would be absorbed by a much larger group of people. Would that not be more advantageous, or am I looking at that situation wrong?
I'll just comment that you're not necessarily looking at it wrong, but keep in mind that if we were to implement this after, and I'll just use Project Cactus as the example, if we were to implement this after the businesses related to Lafayette Crossing and Project Cactus were in town, then what we would be doing then is increasing the taxes on businesses that are already here, as opposed to them making a decision when they come into town, knowing what that tax rate is.
Okay. Okay, so I saw a hand up. Sir, did you want to come address? Will you come up to the podium and state your name and address, please?
Don Oldigus, 249 Vernon Drive. Simple question. Can't we increase like impact fees on new construction as opposed to always saddling homeowners who are already here? Simple question.
Can I answer?
Do you want, go ahead.
Yeah, we have some of the highest impact fees in the North Texas area.
Well, Arizona has higher ones in certain cities.
Sure.
Why does it always fall
Yeah.
on the homeowners who are already paying for the fees
Yeah.
and stuff?
We collect maximum rate on water, wastewater. We have a smaller, we could have had the roadway a little bit higher. We had to kind of make a deal with the developers, if y'all remember that one.
Well, I know my water bill's a whole lot higher here than it was in Cypress, Texas.
For sure.
Whole lot higher. Whole
Yeah.
lot higher.
It is high. We do charge quite the impact fees. And so that's usually a negotiating point once we get the big users coming in, especially roadway. Roadway's high.
Okay. Mr. Hollis, did you have something you wanted to share? I know in your public comment you had mentioned that. I just wanted to make sure you had an opportunity to speak if you wished.
Nothing, well, lots of data, but I thought if y'all wanted to have a discussion, normally we have discussions or we can come up and do it, but I thought we were only be limited to the front public comments. So that's why I said I didn't know if we'd have an opportunity to be able to discuss and talk
We
through
can't
things with
discuss back and
Yeah.
forth, but you're more than welcome to tell us what you want to tell.
I think a lot of people are.
So our current council rules really have public speakers come during the public speaker, except for public hearings. And when somebody is giving comment on a posted agenda item, there can be a back and forth between council and the person. But and Vicki, correct me if I'm wrong, but our current council rules talk about people speaking during the public speaker section.
There is an option, so when you sign up to speak, there's an option to speak during the public comment portion or during the subject agenda item. So I have a record of Mr. Hollis signing up. I have his information. The gentleman that just spoke, I have no information on him, so he wasn't signed up to speak. So that's where the issue lies.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And just to kind of, I kind of get the feeling of where this is going. So at this point, I'm not up to making a motion to approve this at this time. I think it's a good conversation to continue to have. But if somebody else wants to make a motion, I'm fine with going along with what the rest of the council does. But I'm not going to make a motion at this time just because, number one, not all the information given was necessarily correct as it relates to putting an attack on seniors and homestead exemptions, because I think this is a way to readdress the homestead exemption. But number two, there's still some council members with a lot of questions, and I would hate asking any council member with questions to make any kind of decisions. So I'm okay with this right now, resting with no action. Not even proposing that we table it or postpone it for the next 30 days. But I'm okay with it resting with no action, and my suggestion would be, at least I'm willing to talk to Mr. Hollis and any other citizens that want to talk about long-term strategy. Maybe what we do is take a look at addressing long-term tax strategies and something along that. And that's a different, it's not on the agenda right now, so I understand it's not anything I can propose, but But working with our businesses to understand what homestead exemption means on the public and trying to figure out ways that we can do things better for both businesses and homeowners.
Mayor and council, Michael wanted me to state that you do have a July 1st deadline. If you want to enact any kind of exemptions for the 2025 year. That doesn't mean that you couldn't do it for future years, but I just wanted to mention that.
I did want to respond to one thing that Mark Hatley had said. He was asking what the difference was between the disabled and the senior exemption, like why, and it wasn't me that asked for this, but I know that Alan was the one that he drew a distinction between the disabled and the over 65. And from what I understand, the difference is that the disabled, they don't have a ceiling.
He just came back and said.
Yes,
Michael
they
said
do.
before the meeting that there is a ceiling on the
Yes,
disabled.
they do have a
So there is a ceiling on the
Yes, there
disabled?
is.
Okay.
That was the
Yes.
incorrect information we got the last meeting, so.
Okay, well, good. I'm glad to know that. Okay. That was my understanding, was the reason why is because there was no ceiling on the disabled, so, okay.
No, they're married on the ceiling, so that's why I didn't understand the separation of the over 65 versus, they're actually paired on the ceiling as well, so that's why I didn't understand separating them on the 50,000.
Well, and I think that's why the motion was made before, was because we got
We
some
did
wrong
think that it was,
information.
okay. Yeah, so I would not be in favor of separating those two. Whatever the disabled pay, I think that the over 65 should pay, whatever that rate is,
It's
whatever we
50,000
decide. If we were to change it, I don't think we should draw a distinction between disabled versus 65. And I would have thought that whether there was a ceiling or not, but I did want to make that comment because that was what it was explained to me as the reason why it was different. But I'm glad to know.
And just from a number standpoint, so that everybody has the information, there are, it looks like 106 homes. I don't know where the feedback's coming from, but there's 106 properties on the 2004 tax rolls that qualified for some form of disabled exemption.
Michael, did you give me a different set of numbers? Didn't you say that there's 86 disabled and 348 disabled vets? Is that correct?
I pulled some information from the preliminary tax roll.
And that's like
for this year.
421 that would count as disabled on that.
That's about what I got.
Okay, and then there's 1,350-ish of the over 65. Good.
Okay, so do I have a motion for this item?
I put a motion, we deny ordinance number 2025-018.
Okay, do I have a second? Okay, so seeing as there's no second, we will
second
move
it.
on.
Did we need a second on that? I'll second.
Okay.
His motion.
So now for clarification, if we, rather than just moving on, if we deny it, does that put any kind of limit to discuss this in the future? So this would just be to deny it, making an action on it tonight?
Right. You can still bring, two councilmen can still bring an item, or the mayor can bring an item.
Okay. Okay, so since there has been a motion and it has been seconded, any other discussions? All right, so this is a motion to deny this homestead exemption.
And this would be to deny it also, that's including the getting rid of the 50,000 for over 65.
It's all one.
This is all in one.
Yeah, it's all in one.
Yeah. Okay, so we may begin voting. Okay, so it is in 6-1. The motion passes to deny the action item. Okay, what's next on our list, please?
Okay. Next is going to be Agenda Item 6B, discuss, consider, and take any necessary action regarding Resolution Number R 2025-029, approving a professional engineering services agreement between Kimley Horn and Associates Incorporated and the City of Fate, Texas, for the Fate Downtown Conceptual Master Plan Project, and authorizing the Executive Director to execute the said agreement.
Okay.
All right, Stephen's going to take this one, I believe.
Thanks, Mayor. Mayor and most of the city council Mark, thank you. This is just, we met with our MDD earlier, I guess last week to talk through, as you saw in your staff summary, this is a downtown drainage master plan study. Y'all are very aware of some of our concerns or our challenges downtown as it relates to drainage. While we have a citywide master plan, we've never had this type of a detailed look at our downtown to kind of see specifically some of the needs that would need to be addressed. There's an MDD funding component and a city council funding component. It was presented to our MDD in their last board meeting, and the funding component from them was approved unanimously. Brought forward to you. Councilmember Monteval was present at that meeting. Showing where specifically the look at the study is, again, there's an MDD component, which is in red, and a what we would call our overall master plan area, which is in green. The red detailed master plan gets down to very specific projects, such as determining adequate stormwater outlets, inlet spacing, downstream connections. They get very detailed in the downtown, in the MDD component of this, which is why you see a larger chunk of this being paid with MDD funds. But this is the area that would be studied in our downtown as it relates to drainage. The total cost of the contract with Kimley Horn is $75,000. $50,000 of that is intended to be paid for by the MDD, and that is obviously the $40,000 detailed business core look, and then essentially a percentage of the others, which is what gets to the 50, and then the rest of it would be paid with our storm drain fund. Any questions from the council?
No. Oh, okay. Any questions from council? Okay, well, do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve resolution number 2025-029.
A second.
Okay, any discussion? Please vote. All right, the motion passes 7-0. Thank you. What's next on our agenda, please?
Next is Agenda Item 6C, discuss, consider, and take any necessary action regarding a potential ordinance banning the distribution of bagged flyers.
Okay.
All right.
You want to take this one, Michael?
This one is mine. Actually, Councilmember Harper brought this to our attention after we all received the flyers on our street.
Yeah.
And our street sweeper did its best to do what it can, but yeah, we still get these in the mail. It was all in the mailbox. Now, some of them, not all of them, but the big ones, we got those mailed to us. And then all of a sudden something changed. They went into the bags. They started throwing them on the curb. We wanted to, I think Mr. Harper talked to you talked to the company.
I did. I actually reached out to the company, and they don't actually deliver their own. They contract it out. I've seen this in several neighborhoods other than just my own, but the car drives down the street and they don't throw it in the yard. They just throw it in the street or close to the yards where they can get. And sometimes it's 3, 4, and 5 copies of the same thing within just a small, because they're being paid by the number of them they distribute, not necessarily how they get distributed. So, and these are contractors that they hire them for just that time. It's not a ongoing person that we can talk with.
So we wanted to kind of gauge your temperature. You can't ban flyer distribution if it's political, religious, or freedom of the press. But otherwise, we think we could address it if you want to address it. There's stormwater benefits for we have a stormwater permit for non-point source pollution. And so we wanted to bring this to you if you wanted to take some action. There's always, most folks pick them up, but even driving down the street, just driving down the street, you see people that they don't pick up the flyers and they get rained on, they turn to mush, and you can't recycle them, they have to go in the trash. So we wanted to bring this issue to you and see if it's something you want us to pursue, or we can just kind of let it go and let people pick them up.
I have a
Okay, let's,
question.
yeah.
So would this include anything or just in a bag? I mean, I get salespeople that'll put little cards or whatever on my door. Does it ban that, or is it just
No, just the,
stuff in bags?
we just focus on the bag flyers.
Just the bag, okay.
Other thoughts?
So does this include bags that go on the doorknob? I mean, I may be guilty of that recently during my campaign, but I didn't like doing it. So, because I don't like the extra plastic bags around, I actually end up with lots of them in my front yard and down my storm drain area. So I like the idea of prohibiting plastic bags of any kind.
Well, and that was political, so that would not, we're not even discussing that issue. So you can keep doing that, Martha. Keep it up.
So the ordinances we've been looking at in other jurisdictions talk about a person throwing, depositing, or distributing, and I'm going to skip over some language, but upon private premises in such a way that it's not secured. And so arguably, if you're putting on a doorknob, that is secured. Now, there's other provisions that other cities have regarding people putting notes. I've seen in other cities where an individual can put a note saying no solicitations whatsoever, on my front door. But that's not what's being proposed here. But what's being proposed here is more about the throwing on the street or driveway.
And I guess it would cover, if we use that language, it would also cover I know Mr. Meneval and I were talking about the olden days where they would launch the launchers with the tight.
I remember when I was a kid, there were people who would go down the street and they had some kind of launcher that would send them into the yards. And my father was convinced that they were just having fun in our front yard, just loading it up with taking practice. But they must not have those anymore, because I think they're just pitching them as best they can. One thing I mentioned to you, Michael, was I picked one of these up, and unfortunately, it was one that had gotten wet and dried out. But I picked it apart as best I could, and in the bag was Tom Thumb, Aldi, Kroger, Family Dollar, Rooms to Go, Ollie's, which never been to Ollie's, but it's sort of a thrift store, and a flyer for AAA. And I know that there's probably some people out there who pick them up and maybe are glad to see the sales flyers for the grocery stores. But what they're doing right now that doesn't work. So I guess, Mark, I wondered, when you talked to them, did they think there was any chance that they could get their independent contractors to do better?
I spoke to him, and he said he would talk to the person. I literally stopped the person in the street and talked to him, and as they drove off, they threw 4 more in the street on the way down the road. So they don't care. Literally, they're not, these people are getting paid by the number that they distribute, not necessarily the information is there. So what they've done is, they used to send these in the mail. There used to be that pack that we used to get. Now they've taken to not paying the postal fee, but putting the fee on the back of us as citizens to clean up our streets after they've left them in the middle of the street, so.
Well, I guess, no, I've seen them. I get up at 5:30 virtually every morning and walk the neighborhood. I've seen them on there. Some of them are in the street. Some of them are sitting like right there in the driveway. Some of them are sitting on the sidewalk. And every once in a while, you'll see somebody that actually makes it into part of the yard. As a youngster, that's how I made some money. I used to throw the Dallas Times-Herald. So whoever's throwing them is not very good at them. I used to take pride in being able to sometimes porch them from a pretty good distance. But yeah, they seem to be the same stuff that people get on Wednesdays from all the grocery stores. But and I know you can't prohibit religious stuff, so it's a good thing HEB things aren't in there, because in certain parts of Texas, HEB is an actual religion. So
my question would be, how does enforcement of something look like with this because obviously I don't think DPS is going to be chasing down these folks. Is this a code enforcement issue? Do we just have to catch them? Well, I mean,
We have exceptional 24-hour patrol, and so I'm sure eventually we're going to run across that person. So there is the field, which we have, it's going to be hit and miss, but I'm sure we're going to run into them. We'll send the company a nice letter saying that the ordinance has gone into effect and please stop. And then if it continues, of course, we do have code enforcement and we do have DPS.
So is it going to be a DPS issue or code enforcement issue? Because I understand the aggravation with it because I have to go pick up these dang things every Tuesday when they drop them off at my house too. So, and I end up picking up half my neighbors too because we've got neighbors that haven't been out front in 6 years. But I understand the frustration, but is this just putting an ordinance in place that it's going to be tough to enforce, tough to do? Is it being at the right place at the right time?
Yes.
What's that look like?
I think yes to all the answers. We would, if we get, if they send us back a nasty letter or whatever, then we have, of course, our attorneys that can send a letter. We can send code enforcement. We'd start with that. But then if we see people in the field, then DPS can make traffic stops. It's a violation of an ordinance.
Yeah, but I think you've identified something, which is, as a former prosecutor, these would not be easy to prosecute.
So I do have a question. First, I'd like to say, Scott, let me know next time you have one in the yard because I have 3 little girls at home who fight over who gets to pick those up out of the yard. And so typically there are tiers because 2 don't get to. And so if I knew that there were some other homes in the area, that might be great.
You just have to find the right street in town because some of them will sit there for 2 weeks.
So right here where it says the city's responsibilities under the TCEQ Phase 2 stormwater permit, can you explain that a little bit?
Sure. And we've got Public Works administers we have a non-point source pollution permit. So this old law, EPA, a long time ago, Congress. But essentially we get credit for doing certain things to keep litter and all sorts of things out of our streams. And so this is one of the things that if you passed an ordinance, I'm sure we could add it to the list of all the good things that we do. It's not a requirement.
Okay, so it's not like we're being dinged on anything right now or losing out on any benefit?
It's extra credit, basically.
Okay, I like that. Okay, so, and you're looking right now for direction from us on?
Right. Would you like us to go prepare an ordinance to this effect or not?
Council, what are your
Yes,
thoughts?
I think we should.
I would agree.
Yes, yes, yes. All right. Yes, we would like you to start drafting something for us, please.
All right, we'll work together and bring something back when it's ready.
Okay, great, thank you. All right, Ms. Vicki, what's next on our agenda?
Okay, next is going to be agenda item 6D, discuss, consider, and take any necessary action regarding police station configuration.
All right, Chief and I are going to talk a little bit about the police station. So there's a bond that was passed, as you all know. We talked about the tax impact. The bond's been sold, and the tax impact will begin with the tax bill coming in October that's due in January. We have, in that project, we had a number of facilities and a ladder truck. The ladder truck's on order. We've hired the architect, and yeah, come on up, Chief. I'll keep talking as you're walking. So our architect recently told us that we could save a little bit of money, about up to, keyword, up to, 2 words, $2 million if we decided to go to a single-story configuration. The only problem is that the gentleman who sold us the property, his father was a fire chief, I believe, or in the fire service, and he gave it to us for a great price. He wanted us to put a fire station on that property. And so that was not a problem because we wanted to co-locate both the fire station, the north station someday when it made sense to do the north station. And then we'd have the police station. We have a 2-story. We'd have plenty of room. It'd be tight, but we could still fit them in. So now we've got this situation where there's a piece of property for sale and there's another piece of property for sale right nearby. We'll talk about that in executive session. But we wanted to talk about the configuration first of the 1-story and the 2-story. That didn't meet the executive session threshold, so we have to talk about that in public. So if there's a preference for a 1-story or a 2-story, I know we love the 2-story complex. This building's 2 stories. It's actually made to look like it's 3. If you look at the architecture, so it sends a statement. And it's kind of like when the old timers built, like when they built the school. You'll remember there's pictures of the school over here when they built, when the ancestors here built the school. They built 2 stories, and the land was cheap, and it was sending a message like, hey, this is a public building. This town's going to be worth a lot. So this is kind of all the different things why you would do a 2-story. Someday the property will be valuable, a lot more valuable than it is now, but today it's. We could buy the land and still save some money, essentially, is where we're going to go with
and
that.
that's about it? No.
So if there's any, if there's any
so there's
big desires?
There's a lot of advantages and disadvantages of both ways. You know, so first of all, your appearance, the appearance of a 2-story building is very civic, you know, very similar to this building. That's kind of a thing that you see a lot. You also see command presence with that type of facility being a police building. You know, and there's also advantages of a 2-story building having separations by floors of various activities, separating, for example, patrol and administration, so that, you know, 2 quite different functions that run their different operations in our department. You know, and so that's some of the things that we looked at originally, as well as the land savings, so that we could put another facility on that lot that, you know, one purchase gets us 2 pieces of 2 properties on one land. And so that was the original thing. The second is obviously to save money into the project or other equipment that may come up in the next few years, because this bond is dedicated only for public safety equipment or buildings. And so we would still continue to look at some of our needs. Single story also eliminates a lot of need for, you know, elevators for handicap or things like that. And so those would need to be put in there if it was 2-story. And so the advantage of a single story, plus you have to duplicate certain things on a 2-story, like restroom facilities and break rooms and things like that. And so that would be another disadvantage of the second story. So those are discussions that we wanted to bring to council for discussion on a preference and with all those things in mind.
Also, good to note, we talked to Jennifer about legality, because I know, you know, things always change when you have a bond election. It's like just a capital program. Anyway, so things change as we get more information, things happen. We checked with our bond counsel, Chris Settle, and with Jennifer, who recommend checking with Chris. He said it's absolutely an allowable cost, as long as it's for public safety facilities, which is, so if we buy more land with the bond, it would be eligible to use for the bond. So it's still for a public safety facility. So it is a slight change to the bond program, but one that we think that we could plow the savings into potentially hedging on cost increases, because we've got to go to bid at some point for the building, and we all think we know what inflation is and what the tariffs are going to be, but we don't really know when it's time what those costs are going to be. So that would help us a little bit.
And there has not been any design work done yet at all. We are still, they sent me a questionnaire sheet of things that our operations and asking a lot of questions about us right now, and forecasting our future. And so there hasn't been any design work yet that would be wasted time or effort, what we've been doing. We haven't got to that part yet. Our next phase is actually doing some field trips and seeing some other facilities and trying to glean good ideas that fit us from other places. You know, most of y'all have probably been in Royse City's police building, and I've taken quite a few pictures of things that I like that they did, and there's other buildings around North Texas that we were going to look at.
So, what's that? Do you want to speak first? Oh, I mean, it doesn't matter. His name just shows up first because where you, go ahead. Go ahead.
Do you have a preference?
I prefer the two-story, just for various reasons of smaller footprint and separation of our divisions within our department.
If we go with the less expensive one-story building, does that in any way inhibit the effectiveness of managing staff functions, abilities on a day-to-day basis?
No.
Okay, thank you. Michael, I want to, somebody mentioned earlier with the potential $2 million reduction to the bond. This is, correct me if I'm wrong, I think I've got a pretty strong understanding of bonds, but bonds aren't like a commercial loan. We borrowed $20 million. If we spend $2 million less on a building, we can't take that $2 million and pay it right back.
It's still the same.
It's with the way that bond's structured, we really can't do any debt reduction until the note becomes callable at 10 years, I believe.
Correct, 10-year call.
So really the savings that we would do, we would either have to put it into an account and let it sit there for 10 years earning interest, and if we wanted to call the note and refinance it in 10 years, which is a bet that we may or may not be right, or we use the funds for DPS potential land acquisition somewhere else.
I mean, pretty well, given we're gonna spend it all.
Right.
It's just how we spend it, so. There would be a little bit of a benefit if we went one story. I do like the two-story design too, and I know Ryan, all the planner type people like the two-story. There is an issue, we can't hold on to the money, we've got to spend it.
Right.
IRS, it's tax exempt bonds, so IRS really gets on us if we start getting into 3 to 5 years.
And the other issue that I would point out is when we did this bond, we had a underfunded contingency, cost contingency on this. I believe our construction contingency was 10% as opposed to what is typical with most contingencies of 20%, if not higher. So as it stands today, if there are any cost overruns on the facility, that's going to have to come out of the operating budget for the most part. We are underfunded on our contingency, and this is something that could help with that as well.
And I hope my wife is not listening to this meeting, but this sounds like one of those deals where it's on sale when I went shopping, so I bought it. And now we have to spend some extra money somewhere else because, so I want to understand. So if we build it one story, we save $2 million, but then we have to go and spend some money to buy a piece of property. That's exactly like my wife tells me. So, okay. All right, thanks.
One of my main goals was always to have the fire station right next to the police station, because I've always talked about the fact that I would really like for the fire station that is downtown to not be there and for us to move it someplace else, just because of, right now we can't shut down the streets in downtown, so when we have festivals, we have to deal with the emergency vehicles going in and out. So if we were to change this and we do one story instead, we would buy more land in order to get that fire station. But yeah, you prefer the two-story. To me, it's not making a lot of sense. I think just leave it as is. Especially because it's not like we can take that $2 million and put it towards debt. We're just moving it and finding a new problem because we made it one story instead of two stories. I don't know. I don't see a great benefit. Yeah.
And we're probably tiptoeing into the executive session because
Okay.
because of the price. The key is going to be like the price of the land, how much land we buy, what it costs, is going to determine the savings, which we would then plow into contingency for the building. So that's the only piece that we don't know how it's going to go. But
should we not be making this decision before we go to executive session and we get all the information?
Good city attorney question, perhaps.
Well, I mean, certainly you can go into executive session on the appropriate executive session item, which is real estate and price of real estate. But obviously, we would not be discussing executive session, one
Sure.
story versus two-story.
But it might impact
Sure.
our decision right now if we know
Sure.
that information.
Yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
Just so I'm clear, Cody, are you saying, like, if we went in there and it was, oh, man, it might be closer to 3.5 million, we might have a different understanding than kind of as Mark Harper mentioned, that it kind of sounds like, well, yeah, we're saving this, but then we're just gonna go have to spend this over here anyway. Chief prefers two-story, the fire station will be right next to it.
Right.
Kind of opens a can of worms that we don't
Sure.
necessarily need to.
Right now, we don't know what that bottom dollar is, but I do know that, Chief wants two-story, and I don't see a great benefit in making it a one-story, then going and purchasing more land, so we can have what we already have if we just do the two-story, so.
Is there anyone who is strongly in favor, even with the discussion that we've had so far, for the one-story option? All right, well, I think that's the direction. I think we can, I mean, I know we'll.
We can avoid the executive session, or we can go into it.
So to me, it seems like you would want to have all the information before we made a decision. So is there any way to go into executive session now and come back and talk about this agenda item?
Yes, that's what I answered Councilmember Chen's question.
Mr. Mayor, I'm gonna request that we go into executive session as it relates to item number 8A, before addressing and making a decision on this item.
You made a motion, I want a second. Is that what you said?
I'm just making the request.
Yeah, I just think if the mayor chooses to go into executive session, we can go into executive session under that provision.
Before we do this?
Mayor, you can, as the presiding officer, you can reorder the agenda almost in any way you want to.
Okay. We're learning all sorts of things tonight. This is great. I appreciate you. Okay, so we are going to go into executive session to discuss this item at 7:52 p.m. And we're going to discuss item 8A in accordance with the North Fire Station.
And so, Mayor, if you would let Vicki read us into executive session,
Okay.
that would be great.
Thank you.
Okay.
Ms. Vicki?
So we will, executive session in accordance with Texas Government Code, Section 551.0001. The city council will recess into executive session, which is closed meeting, to discuss in accordance with Texas Government Code, Section 551.072, to deliberate the purchase, exchange, lease, or value of real property, number 1 North Fire Station.
Thank you. Oh, yeah, that's right, That's right. Yeah, because we've got reports too. Okay, so we will reconvene into regular session at 8:28 PM. And do you give the report on how we didn't have any action item or
Correct.
anything?
So for agenda item 6D, it's my understanding no action is going to be taken on that item. And then also, agenda item 8A1, executive session item about the North Fire Station, no action is taken on that. So we will now move to agenda item 7, which is mayor, council, and city manager reports.
Quick question, Vicki.
Yes, sir.
6D, do we need to postpone that, or we can just bring it back whenever, okay, all right.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. Cody, do you want to start us off?
I just wanted to say congratulations to all of the new council members. I look forward to working with all of you. And also, I just want to say, Andrew, you've done a great job.
Oh, well, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I want to say congratulations to our street department and all the award winners tonight from DPS and all of our departments where we passed out awards. Also wanted to say thank you to DPS for taking care of our city. And again, I echo what Cody said. Andrew, great job. It was a little bit of a confusing meeting time. We moved a lot of things around, but hey, good job.
Thank you. Is that hazing? Is that what's going on? Okay.
You haven't had one of those meetings.
All right. No offense, Andrew, I'm not going to compliment you because you're going to have to do better, and you will. But first off, congrats to Lottie, Daniel, Lee, John, and Gustavo for your stuff that you were acknowledged for earlier in the meeting. To our DPS, I woke up, I don't remember what morning it was last week, Thursday, Friday morning, to a bunch of texts about why there's helicopters flying around and police cars all over the place and stuff. You know, most of the work y'all do is kind of, I don't want to say it's under the radar, but a lot of it's unsung. But there was a large DPS event last week that seems to have gone off relatively, compared to the way it probably could have gone, went off fairly well. So congrats to the DPS for pulling that off. I would also note that Thursday night in here, the TxDOT is doing a public hearing on the expansion of 551. 551 is a critical piece of infrastructure. The county has paid for the engineering design plans for this. I would encourage all citizens to come and see this. I believe it's already been posted as a potential quorum item, so I would encourage all the council to be here. The note I will make on that is while we'll have some lovely pictures to look at on Thursday night, the county has no plans to be able to pay for the expansion of 551 right now. And so I would encourage anybody interested in that to engage with our county officials about helping to find money to expand our roads. Thank you.
All right, well, I guess I would have liked to have been able to say more to Lottie and Daniel while they were here. I think it's great to see people work someplace put in some longevity, and I think it says something about them, and it says something about the employer, which is the city, that they want to stay here. So that's it for my first report.
Thank you. Mark?
I just wanted to say thank you to Lottie Huffman, Daniel Engel, Lee Goddard, John Eller, and Gustavo Gomez for doing a wonderful job, great job for everybody. As always, and I don't ever want to not do this and thank our DPS for the great job that they do. I'm out walking at 5:30 most mornings now, and I feel safe. I mean, a lot of people don't walk out in the dark and feel safe walking around, but I definitely do. I wanted to congratulate all the seniors of Rockwall County. It's quite an achievement to make it through high school, and you'll never forget it. And that's one part of life, and now you're going to move on to your next. I'd like to say thank you to the older citizens that we honored tonight. that you're getting a day, and to the Public Works Department for saying, for doing just a wonderful job. So thank you. And to Mr. Mayor, he is, I don't know how many times he practices as a young man running meetings and you're in anywhere, but if you didn't, you're doing a great job. You really are.
Thank you.
So thank you.
Thank you. Martha?
I also want to congratulate Lottie, Daniel, Lee, John, and Gus for their accomplishments. Those are great things. And the seniors at Royse City and Rockwall, it's an exciting time for you. My son was just there last year, so as you're congratulating the seniors, I thought it felt like, just yesterday, but it's actually been a whole year now. I also want to say happy birthday to Vicki again. And nice job on your mayoral talents, Andrew.
Well, thank you. I would say first, on May 8th, I want to thank our former Mayor Billings, Michael, I want to thank you, and then Omar, I wish he didn't leave yet. I wanted to thank him. So in a very short amount of time, the city staff and then former Mayor Billings got together to open up City Hall so that I could bring my dual credit government students from the Gene Burton Center for Rockwall ISD. And so ended up having about 50 students that came and got to sit in this room, take pictures, and do some cool stuff. And I'm hearing from them, hearing from some of their parents, how cool that was. And so I'm very appreciative of city staff to open up and do that kind of thing, and hope that we can do that for a long time to come. I know they got to see you too, Vicki, and go upstairs, and Omar led them on a wonderful tour. It was beneficial for me too. I got to learn about where some offices are and where some people are, so that was good. So thank you for that. And then next Monday is Memorial Day, and so I hope that we can all take a moment to reflect on the sacrifice that so many of our servicemen and women made for our freedom. Disagreements, even as we were talking tonight, the disagreements and kind of the back and forth, that spirited debate, as much as it might get heated, and I'm sure it'll get more heated in the future on certain things, but it's because of the sacrifice that they made, that ultimate sacrifice they made, that we have the opportunity to do this and have the privilege of that freedom here. So please honor them on Monday and reflect on that they gave us. That's all I have. Mr. Kovacs.
Can I sneak one thing in real quick? I'm sorry.
I'll allow it.
Former Mayor Megacy brought up Carry the Load. I'm going to do my best to walk it this year. My wife wouldn't let me last year. She said I wasn't feeling well enough. But anybody who feels up to it, it's going to be on Yellow Jacket Lane, 6 o'clock, I believe, next Saturday. It's about a 2.5-mile walk to go do that, to honor our fallen veterans, and it's definitely going to be worth it.
And
6 p.m.
I wholeheartedly agree. I've actually done it for the last 3 years, from the Rockwall courthouse over to Rowlett. And we carry a load and put some weight in a backpack and think about all the fallen soldiers.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Mr. Kovacs.
Yes, sir. Just some announcements. The county consortiums are this Wednesday starting at 5 p.m., the Emergency Service Corporation. And then at 6 p.m., we have the consortium, which is the planning consortium, which talks about roads and growth and so forth. And then Councilman Kelly, or Mayor Pro Tem Kelly mentioned this. The Texas DOT 551 public hearing Thursday, right here, 5 to 7 p.m. Memorial Day, we are closed. Monday, June 2nd, which is your next council meeting, right before your next council meeting at 5 p.m., we're going to have the pictures at the hub. So we'll do our pictures, and we're going to do it in air conditioning this year. So thank you to Matt and Vicki and all the folks that set that up. So 5 p.m., we'll get over to the hub, we'll take pictures, we'll come over here, we'll start the meeting at 6. Oh, we're going to meet here. So we're going to we're going to meet at the hub. So go to the hub at 5, we'll do the picture shoot, then we'll leave the hub, come here, do the meeting, go home.
Is there a certain spot at the hub?
Third floor. Yeah. We'll send you like a little map to get in. We'll send them which door to go in, and
I'll send a reminder and specific instructions, and I cannot take credit. That was totally Shelby and Matt that have chosen the location, so I can't take credit for that.
Have you been in there? Okay, cool. Okay, well, thank you. Next item?
Next item is item 10, adjournment.
Okay, do I have a motion?
I move. We adjourn. Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Let's go ahead and vote, please.
Who seconded that?
Mark
Thank you,
Harper.
thank you.
All right, passes 7-0. We're adjourned. Thank you.